people in every church that I go to. We got some of them, we got we got college graduates, we got people with PhDs, we got people that had a bad, terrible life, and God saves the whole bunch, and He puts them all together to serve Him and His purpose. I'm so glad of that. I remember, thank you so much, son. I was looking on the internet here a while back, and Amazon. I know y'all got Amazon when you come into Charleston here. And I noticed a section there, and it said in there that we got used textbooks, and we got textbooks on all different kinds of subjects. Well, I don't have a textbook, but I got the textbook. I got the textbook. Amen. Not a textbook, but the textbook. See, I found out that the young folk thing out nowadays, because of Verizon and Frontier and all them, that they're the first ones that come up with text. God's been sending text for 6,000 years to a bunch of old sinners. I remember September the 22nd, 1968, 9:30, one Sunday night. The Lord sent me a text, and it said, John 3:7, marvel not that I say unto you, you must be born again. Right behind that, come Romans 10:13, whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Right, he sent a text right to my heart. And not only that, right behind it, I got another text, and that text said in Hebrews 13:5 that I'll never leave thee nor forsake thee. Is that right? Now, there might come a place in my life where I don't know what might come about in my life, that I might come down with Alzheimer's, or I don't know how my life's going to wind up. But I do know this, there might be a day that I might not remember him, but there'll never be a day that he won't remember me. Is that right? He said, I'll never, ever leave thee. Is that right? I got that text, amen. And Revelation chapter 22, he said, behold, I come quickly. Is that right? I'm so glad the Lord is going to come back. That's another text message that I got. Here a while back in our little old town, I went down to the grocery store, and I went down to the store to shopping around. And in the very back of the store, they had a basket that you push the groceries out and everything like that. And what they did, they had on the side of the basket there, it had a sign there, and it said, damaged goods. Just damaged goods, where they had dropped them and where they'd been bit in passage and all that kind of stuff. And on the thing it said, discounted real cheap. Do you know that it said only 10 cents for this bent can of peaches? Now, it might look damaged on the outside just like our lives. We've been damaged. The devil's whipped us and done everything. That's the life that we used to live. But I thank God I can break open this peaches no matter how much you've been damaged. There can still be sweetness on the inside. Is that right? That's what God can do for a bunch of old sinners. Is that true? That's what God can do for us. Amen. I heard somebody saying something about praying for somebody that had a bad drinking problem. My mother had a drinking problem for 54 years. 54 years as a young woman, give her children away. As a young woman, just run all over this country doing everything in the world. But can I tell you that God found her, saved her, changed her, cleaned her up. She only got to live a year after she got saved, but I want you to know that God sent her a text message that night. Though your sins be as scarlet, glory to God, they shall be white as wool. That's what God can do for an old sinner. Is that right? I want to give you a message. I know we got a revival all this week. I want you to look at Luke's Gospel, chapter number 14. Thank you for our visitors. Thank you for our friends. Thank each one of you for being here tonight. Thank you for the good things that's going on here at Esta. The good things that's going on at Esta, people being saved, people excited about what's going on, about the meeting, and the folks that's coming here, they'll be coming people coming in from all areas, from what I understand from the churches local. Well, we got some friends coming from Kentucky and things like that, and they're coming here. But this is what we need right here tonight. I feel this might help us here. In Luke's Gospel, chapter number 14, before we turn any further, about the middle of the verse, here's what it says in Luke 14:10. Friend, go up higher, then thou shalt have worship in the presence of them that sit at meat with thee. God always wants his children to move up higher. We got a place in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm sure that you've heard of it. It's called the upper room. It's called the upper room, where you walk up them steps and you get up there. It's the same, it's set up like the Lord had the upper room the night that he was going to be betrayed. From John's Gospel, chapter 13 to 17, he tells all about what happened in that upper room. You see now, every time that the Lord got ready to go off in Matthew 17 and in Matthew 26, every time that he got ready to go off to go somewhere to either pray or to get a job done, he had his inner circle with him. He had Peter, James, and John. He let the other 9 sleep. He just left them down there. But he carried Peter, James, and John up on the Mount of Transfiguration, and they got to see many a thing. They was moving on up higher with the Lord. Now the Bible says in Songs of Solomon chapter 2 and in verse 3, it talks about the secret of the stairs. The secret of the stairs. Now Jesus was on this earth for 3.5 years. The last night here, he's telling them, I'm going away to my Father. I'm going back home. I've been gone for 3.5 years. I want to go home. I want to be with my Father. But after he resurrected from the dead, according to Acts chapter 1, he did not go home. After the blood was put on the mercy seat, he hung around on this earth for 40 days and nights, going out and getting them ones that had walked off, his disciples that had left him. Is that right? Now, let me show you something real quickly, if you would, in Acts chapter number 1. In Acts chapter 1, if you hold your finger in Acts chapter number 1, please. In Acts chapter number 1, hold your finger there. And while you got your finger there, look at 1 Corinthians chapter number 15. 1 Corinthians chapter number 15. Acts 1 and in 1 Corinthians chapter number 15. I want you to watch this in 1 Corinthians 15. The Bible said in verse number 4, and that he was buried, and that he rose again the 3rd day, according to the Scriptures. That he was seen of Cephas and of the 12. After that, he was seen of above 500 brethren at once, of whom the greater part, Paul says, is still, they remain in the present, they're still alive. He said, but some of them has done fallen asleep. After that, he was seen of James and all of the apostles, and last of all, he was seen of me also, as one born out of due season. Please turn back to Acts 1. You don't have to go no further tonight. In Acts chapter 1, Jesus stayed around 40 days trying to get the disciples to back into fellowship with him. They had dispersed. They didn't stay at Calvary. They run. They were scared of what was going to happen in their life. Jesus takes them out to the Mount of Olives. He takes them out to the Mount of Olives. He said, I want you to go back into Jerusalem until you be endued with power from above. I want you to look at real close in verse number 12. It said, then they returned unto Jerusalem from the mount called Olivet, which is Jerusalem a Sabbath day's journey. And then when they were come in, they went into an upper room where abode Peter, James, John, Andrew, Philip, Thomas, Bartholomew, and Matthew, and James, the son of Alphaeus, Simon the Zealot, Judas, the brother of James, and they all continued with one accord in prayer and in supplication. And out with the women and Mary, the mother of Jesus, and his brethren. And in those days, Peter stood up in the midst of his disciples and said, the number of names together were about 120 people. I'd like to bring this thought to you here tonight on upper room people. On people that don't believe and stand just on the ground floor. They want to go up higher to be with the Lord. They're tired of just a mediocre, of just going to church and being a Christian. They want to move on up and get closer to the Lord. I just read you there that they went in that upper room for prayer and supplication. They prayed for somebody, but in the supplication they shed tears and they prayed over somebody with tears and with a broken heart. Have you done that lately? Have you prayed and wept over somebody that you say that you won't save? Even the Lord wept over Jerusalem his own self. Have we wept over Bell, West Virginia, and people dying in their sins and going to hell? Amen. Now watch this real close. It said there was 120 in the upper room. Is that right? But I read you a while ago, Paul said they were seen of 500. If there was 500 men that he seen, and only 120 was in the upper room, that means 380 people never showed up to want to move upstairs. They stayed. They said, look, we're just satisfied going to church. We don't want to move up higher. We're satisfied living like we're living. Is that right? So I begin to think about that, Brother Randy. And I begin to think about people that's got a house with an upper, like a two-story house. I know Frankie's got one. I know Brother CT. I know different people here has got a two-story house. And I begin to think about that's the way it is. In the church, I've seen a lot of churches have a stairway that you can go up to the top. They had the prayer room in the top, not in the bottom. That's where you learn the secret of the stairs. Watch this real close now. If there was 380 people didn't show up, they decided to stay on the bottom floor. This is what I found out about a two-story house. Number one thing, when you go to the top, you're closer to God than you was when you was on the bottom. I'm talking about geographically, I'm talking about. Is that right? You can move up closer to God once you get to the upper room and say, I'm tired of just going to church, being a church member. I want to move up as close to you as I can. And when you do, you'll get closer to God than you've ever been. Amen. Is that right? Not only that, upper room people, they want to go as far up to the top that they can be with the Lord. Number two thing, if you want to write this down, I stay in a lot of houses. And I always notice if they put me up in the top in the attic, it always gets hotter the higher up you go. Is that right? Is that true? Is that the truth? Do you know that's the Lord truth? But I say, look, I want to get on fire for God. God said, if you want to, you got to move up higher. If you stay on the bottom, you'll stay like you are. Glory to God. But if you move on up, the climate even changes. Is that true? Now watch this real close. I used to work a night shift a long time ago. And I'd work the night shift, and I'd get in about 6 in the morning. I'd go up in the attic of that house, had aluminum foil all over the windows, had me a little old 5-ton air conditioner in there. And I'd go to sleep early in the morning, and I'd be sleeping so good. But I noticed the later it got in the daytime, I was pulling them covers off of me. Do you know why? the sun was moving closer to that house, and it was getting so hot up there until I just outright could not take it no more. Boy, it'd be good if an Esta Baptist Church and the churches we go to, amen, say, God, you're about to burn me up. Wow! And you're about to burn me up. I like the climate up here. Amen. Is that right? Come on, preacher. Amen. So number one thing is I like the climate up there. I like it when you get up to the top. Feels like you've moved geographically up close to the Lord. Not only that, when I'm up on top, like yesterday, I was over at CT's house, and you can go down the basement, and I can't see nothing but a graveyard. Is that right? But I went upstairs. Yesterday afternoon we were supposed to go out to eat, and I looked out them big old windows, and I got a clear view. I could see people's houses a long way off. Can I tell you something? Once you move up closer to God, you can get a clearer vision. And without a vision, the people perish. Amen. Is that right? So that's what we need to ask God this week, is to help us to move on up a little bit closer, to move on up higher to Him. Watch this. Not only that, here's something else I like about that thing. Not only that, at Brother Clinton's, and everywhere I go, I got a friend of mine in North Carolina. They call it, you've been there, Brother Tony's house. He's got one of them big old log houses. And he always puts me in the top of that house. And it's all right, but you know what I hate to do? I hate to climb them steps. When I was young, I could run back and forth up that thing, but now you got to be sure-footed. Is that right? Is that right? You understand? Who's got a house that's got stairs in it? Don't you just hate them? If you don't, you will. I'll guarantee you, buddy. I will guarantee you, you'll be sleeping on the couch every night that you don't have to walk them steps. Is that right? Is that true? And Song of Solomon chapter 2 verse 3, it said, learn the secret of the stairs. Because I'm telling you, there will come a day in your time and shape, the older that you get. You can't take the steps hardly no longer. The other day I got into town and my cell phone was out. Randy carried me to more buildings for the Frontier place y'all got downtown. And I bet you they had 100 steps up the top of that building. Randy was going up ahead of me, and I was holding the rail. My legs was getting Charlie horses. My back was hurting so bad, I didn't care if I had a cell phone or not. Is that right? I want you to know there's one thing about it. If you're used to going up there and getting the upper room with the Lord, you'll be in good shape. Amen. Is that right? Am I telling the truth? Can I tell you something else I found out a long time ago? Do you know that it's harder to sell a two-story house than it is a flat single dwelling? Did you know that? Oh, it's good when you're young. You take Mark's age. My Lord, he could run backwards like this. He could run forward. He wouldn't bother. But you wait, he hits that 60 mark. Is that right? You wait, that old body gets to wearing out. He'll say, we got to get rid of these steps or get us some other place. Is that right? But what you're trying to do, you want to get up closer to the Lord. Do you know who don't go up them steps? It's handicapped people. Is that right? Could I tell you something? There's a lot of people has hurt a lot of people in the church and said you can't serve the Lord because something you did in your past and you're handicapped. I want you to know that God said, I want you to come on up higher, climb the steps. Is that right? Well, let me show you this. I went to Washington, D.C. one time. I went to Washington, D.C., and I wanted to see all them monuments and all that kind of stuff. Well, I went to the Washington Memorial. It says, I don't know if you've ever been there, but whenever I walked in the building, and I was young then, when I walked in the building, there was a whole line of people over here. Over here, there wasn't hardly nobody. And what it was, the line that I got in, it was the elevator taking there. See, everybody wants an easy way to go to the top. Is that right? There was 396 steps in the Washington Monument today. That guy got on the intercom, the guy said, now, if you can't wait and you don't want to wait on the elevator, you can take the stairway, the secret of the steps. It's going to cost you something. Is that right? Yeah. Can you imagine climbing 396 steps to go up there to see that? I'd hate to know I have to drive that thing now. I got to have to look at Obama out the window. Is that right? Do you see what Brother John is saying? 396 steps. I would have to be in the emergency room. I promise you that. Is that right? So he said, well, now, would you rather wait on the elevator or do you want to take the stairway? I said, I'll wait on the elevator. I wanted the easy way out. You see what I'm saying? But I want you to know tonight that we can move on up closer to the Lord. It's going to take a lot of trying to go climbing them steps to get to Him. But once you get up in that upper room, like the disciples heard that night, He told them disciples, let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. I'm going away to prepare you a place. And I want you to know in that upper room, when you get close to the Lord, you can hear things that most people never hear on the bottom floor. Is that true? They'll never hear it because they've never moved on up next to Him. What about you? Have you ever thought about that? How that a two-story house, it reminds you of the upper room. It takes a lot of energy to get up them steps. That's what I was saying to my friend in North Carolina. That's what he does. I tell him, I say, Tony, I sleep on the couch downstairs. Oh, we don't let people sleep downstairs. He said, you got to go upstairs because you got to go up there and we got your room prepared up there. By the time I get ready to up there, I'm ready to have the EMTs come after me. Amen. Listen, I mean, because you're so wore out. But I'm telling you, it is a blessing the closer to God that you can get. Are you tired of just staying on the bottom floor? Do you want your life changed? You want to move closer to the Lord? If you do, like the Lord told Peter, James, and John, come on up on this mountain with me. Move on up higher. Come on up higher with me. And then you'll have peace and strength. Let's bow our heads if we would, please. You're here tonight. You say, Brother John, as I sit here tonight, here in Esta Memorial Baptist Church, I remember a day and a time and a place in my life when I trusted Christ, when Christ come into my life and saved me and changed me. But you know, the problem is you've been saved for a long time, but you've hung around on the bottom floor. This week we're going to have revival. And a revival is nothing else but an invite for us to move on up higher, to come closer to God. Have that upper room experience with you and the Lord. Has the Lord sent you a text message tonight? I'm waiting on you. I'm waiting on you. Come on up here with me. Stop being a nominal Christian. 500 people, Paul said, had seen him. But only 120 showed up in the upper room. Only 120. Where was that 380? They still having church services. They still doing their regular business. But they've not moved 1 ounce closer to God. That's what this meeting is about. Is to try to get you to the place that you'll get closer to God. And say, God, I know that stairway, that secret of them steps, that it's going to be hard. That it's going to be hard. But God, I want to go up there and I want to be near you tonight. Up in that upper room, there's where little John the Revelator laid on the chest of the Lord and heard the very heartbeat of God. But it was in that upper room where he heard that heartbeat. What about you? What about you? How long has it been since you went to the upper room and got to go be with the Lord? The upper room experience. The climate that you're closer to God. The climate that you can see further than you've ever seen. The temperature always gets hotter upstairs than it does downstairs. But it'll cost you to climb them steps. It'll be hard Hammond them says, but when you want God more than anything else, I'll guarantee you'll say, God, whatever it takes, I want to move closer to you. I want to be with you, Lord, tonight. And many of you here that I know personally are upper room people. You've been there. You know what it is. You know them places that only you and God can get together. And you hear things and you know things. And the Lord's touching you and He's saving your family. And I looked up here tonight at the singers and everything that was going on. And I thought only God could have done that. Somebody here this week needs to move on up a little bit higher. Needs to move on up higher to be with the Lord. And say, Lord, I want what them disciples had. I want that upper room experience with you. You're here tonight, you say, Brother John, as I sit here tonight, I know that I'm saved. I know that I'm born again. I remember the day, the time, and the place when God sent a text to my heart. And that night, maybe at my mama's knee, I don't know where it might have been, but Christ come in and saved you and changed you. Everybody that's born again here tonight, unashamedly, will you signify by an uplifted hand, Brother Johnny? Brother Johnny, I know that I'm saved. I know that I'm born again. Isn't that great? All right, you can put them down now. You're here tonight. You're here tonight. Are you like what I told about this morning? The people that thought they were saved.
I've been singing about my Lord for many years. I've sung to the, told you I'd forget, to those, see I'm blank. Some folks have even questioned if it's all been just a show, but the reason that I'm singing, I want the world to know I sang because there is an empty grave. I sang because there is a power that saves. I sing because His grace is real to me. I sing because I am not alone. I sing because someday I'm going home where I shall sing throughout eternity. I've sung to those walking through the fiery trial. I've watched their saddened faces turn into happy smiles. I bowed my head and whispered, Lord, please do the same for me. And I'm glad that I can tell you He's always given victory. I sang because there is an empty grave. I sang because there is the power that saves. I sing because His grace is real to me. I sing because I am not alone. I sing because someday I'm going home where I shall sing through all eternity. Eternity.